Hello everybody, Elijah here, welcome you all to another Epic 7 video, and today is my seasonal routine of going over my account at the end of the season. We had the Indomitable season, I think that's what it was called, that just ended, and I'll just be going over my units that I used for this season, and we have some newcomers from our last video. We also have some units that have gotten some gear updates and changes, and instead of doing like gear showcases on every single RTA video and things like that, I always like to have this like end of the season video so that people can kind of like see the units that I use and their stats and their gear and all that kind of good stuff. So let's go ahead. There's actually, I don't know if there's that many units. I have ungeared a lot of units this season. Maybe that's why the season was very boring for me. But we're just going to go ahead and go over them one by one. And we're going to start off with Benimaru, who was a newcomer, obviously. He is on a counter and immunity set build. I went with this build just so that he is actually usable in RTA because, you know, in most instances in RTA, people aren't going to use their extra turn, mechanic, like your Sea Lilias, your Ran, your Luas. They're not going to actually do their, skill into an extra turn because if they see this unit, they're just going to like focus down the unit and not use any of those abilities. But in the videos of where I have used it, which was like 1 and maybe 2, people did actually, I guess, had no idea what Benimaru did and still use their extra turn. It was pretty interesting. That happened in my most recent RTA video, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, this is just a build, so he's tankier, a little bit bulkier, so he's actually usable in RTA, so that if they don't actually use that skill, he doesn't get one shot because he is a very squishy unit without any kind of like tank stats. You build on full damage. He will do a lot of damage, but he's kind of like, I guess, what is it, the phrase, like a walking paper bag, or I don't know. He's just really squishy. Anyway, then we have Edward, who build has not changed a single bit. I wish I could make him faster. I wish I could put him on like injury. I wish I could do a lot of things with him, but this is just his stats. And yeah, there really isn't much. I don't think his gear is ever changing anytime soon because I just don't really farm that much HP scaling speed gear. Like HP DPS speed gear with also DPS subs. I just don't get much of that. So the gear that I have for this is very, very limited. Then we have Adventure Ross, who I didn't use at all this season. At all. I don't think there was ever a moment where I thought to draft him for the most part. But again, his stats haven't changed. I might lower his HP because we're not really dealing with too many Hua Young isn't a problem anymore. And because she isn't a problem anymore, I don't need a 20k HP Adventure Ross. I could probably lower him down to like 25k HP and then make him a lot faster, like 240 speed, something along those lines. That might be a change in the near future, but for now, we just have my big, tanky, beefy boy. I think he is the tankiest of all of my knights, I'm pretty sure. So yeah. Then we have Winter, who I used like once, lost, and then never used her again. I think she is a very good unit in the right situation. I just don't know how to use her. But she still has gear just in case. Just in case if I see an opportunity to use her into like a Destina, even though the thing about this build, she doesn't have enough effectiveness. A lot of her good effectiveness gear is given to another unit that I'll get into later on in this video. So because of that, she doesn't have as high of effectiveness as I would want her to be, but I also had to make sure she had 100% crit. So yeah, those are her stats. This is what she's on the CR pushing artifact because she is technically slower than most Winters. I have her on that artifact for the chance to, push herself up since she's only 250 speed. So she could potentially cut in front of some people, like go right behind somebody's opener, like their Sealess opener or something like that, right? Then we have it Kayron. He is my counter cleave Kayron. I wish his effect resistance was higher, But again, this is like, I'm not a Banshee gamer, so when it comes to looking at my Banshee gear, it isn't that good because I just don't farm Banshee that often. I like farm it for like probably like 10 or so runs. Not really 10 or so runs, but I do it during hunt events, and then whatever I get is what I get, and I don't really try to farm outside of hunt events Banshee stuff. So yeah, this is just his stats. Wish he had higher ER, but it is what it is. He works when he works. If he doesn't work, then you know, it is what it is. Then we have Mercedes, who I don't think I recall ever using this season. She just geared just in case, even though a lot of her gear has been given to other people. Uh, as you see, some of her pieces aren't even reforged yet, just because I have been slowly replacing them and giving them to other units that they use more often. But yeah, I don't really use Mercedes. I think she is... Oh, she's not on my defense for Guild Wars. Oh, no, she's not. But yeah, she's just... This is her. Then we have Milim. Milim I don't use, but she's geared as a must-ban unit. So if they draft like Landy or a bunch of stealth units, she's typically a last pick unit for me, and they kind of have to ban her. That's why she's geared, just in case for those situations. Outside of that, I don't really use her. I'm happy that she has an EE. I do want to actually maybe farm Banshee to put her on a counter build and then have her have the Dragon Dive and increase amount recovered by 20%. I think that's a really cool setup for those counter gamers and those counter Milims. I would like to build her on a counter set, but I just don't, at the moment, have the gear to do so, because again, not a Banshee gamer. But who knows, maybe in the near future, I'll actually build a counter Milim, and it would be probably pretty cool. She gets the extra bonus in her healing and all that kind of good stuff. Politis. She's geared just because she's Politis, and most people fear this unit. Cleavers, you know, things like that, or they pick this unit when they are cleaving. Yeah, she has mixed stats. She could be like a lot more damagey, but I did make sure she had some HP and defense for the sake of if a Sid hits her, or like if a Sid takes the first turn and a Sid goes into her, in some instances she will live on like a slither of HP. I've had those moments before where the Sid tries to like one-shot my Politis and like she ends up living with just a little tiny bit of HP. So again, that's why she has a little bit of defensive stats, but not too crazy about, and the rest went into like damage and all that kind of stuff. She used to be on a degen build, but I changed that build because of I just had the DPS gear to spare around. But who knows? I might go back to a counter degen build at some point just for fun. We'll see how the meta shifts and changes. I didn't really draft her that much or too often, but she was an option if I did need to use her. Carrot, I don't use anymore, but she has gear because I have nobody else to give this gear to, so she has it. But I just don't use Carrot anymore. Carrot used to be a hot topic, man. This unit was like, you know, all over the place, and then now she's not existent. But into like some Landies or heavy green unit teams, you can use her. But then again, Rimuru exists, which kind of like made it very hard for her to be usable because Rimuru exists and he could just one-shot her no matter what, you know? Choux, probably the most frustrating unit to ever go against or to ever draft because she either pops off and solo wins matches, or she is the reason why you lose the match by not countering. You know, you just never know, right? When she pops off, you win. Just automatically, there's a win. And when she doesn't, then you just lose. It just depends, right? But yeah, Choux, she's geared, even though I cannot stand this unit. I have her geared for the sake of, because she's OP, right? She's also on my defense team for Guild Wars. Rem, I would say OG Choux before Choux got her buffs, right? Rem was kind of like that unit that was super annoying to deal with, that if she did pop off, it was over. But yeah, I don't really use Rem. I don't really think this is a ideal build for Rem, but she has gear just in case to scare people. I actually did lose to a Rim recently towards the end of the season because I just was not expecting who drafts Rim now. You know what I mean? Like I just was not expecting that. ae-KARINA, who is definitely an MVP for the season. She, you know, in the beginning of her release, people were like, oh, this unit is garbage, this unit is trash. And then she quickly became one of the most broken unit out of all the collab heroes. So yeah, and she is definitely the most used out of all the collab heroes. All it took was people realizing how to build her, and suddenly she became a monster to be reckoned with, right? This is her stats, this is her build. She is on defense percent boots and all that good jazz. Oh, interesting. I actually thought I was on effect resistance, an effect resistance ring, but I'm not. I might change that, honestly, just to give her some more effect resistance so that she doesn't get debuff, right? Have her probably around like 150 or something like that. That could probably change with like a ring, especially since I do have her on defense percent boots. I think I can like alleviate or make it so that she can be on effect resistance ring, or I could just get a better sword. The sword really sucks, but this is actually, shockingly enough, my highest ER sword out of all of my gear. So it is what it is. You know, you just use what you have. But I do want to replace this in the future at some point. Then we have Kise, who she's not built for PvP at all. I use her in Hell Raid. But she is there, right? Some people get threatened by Kise's. I do like to have units that just have gear on, just in case. Just in case, as like a last pick option, Kise is one of those units. You know, if they're like picking Ed or something, I can like pick Kise to like threaten that ban. But she's not geared well. She used to be geared super well, but I removed that gear and gave it to other units that I use more often. As you can see, she literally has gear, a level 70 gear piece. So yeah, I definitely don't use this unit unless it is to threaten like a force ban. Lua, one of my more favorite units, and you know, it for a Lua gamer that has, you know, this entire season has been very dedicated to releasing, Smilegate has dedicated so much time into releasing new units to counter Lua every single moment, and she still is usable and still is a pretty strong unit. I love her. She's so much fun to use. I just like her play style. I know a lot of people really hate this unit, but she's one of my, you know, more fun units that I have on this account. I just love using her when I do have the opportunity to use her. But for the most part, she does get banned or heavily countered with drafting all the counters that they have released in the past a couple of months to counter Lua. um, Seaside Bellona, she doesn't get used. I wish I had. What is it? Who is it? The other Bellona, the ML version. I don't remember her name, but I wish I had that Bellona. But you know, this is Seaside. Uh, I had never drafted her this season because again, for most, it's just really hard to draft this unit. She's definitely a last pick unit, but because her gear kind of isn't going to go on anybody else, I don't see any other unit using this gear per se. She just has it because it just, yeah. Amid has gone through some build changes. I did change her to her own artifact. I used to have her on a ER artifact to give her some more effect resistance so that she didn't get debuffed by Zeos, because my biggest issue with Amid is that most people will draft Zeo into her assuming that she was like a low effect resistance Amid, and then, you know, the Zeo will then silence her and she can't do what she needs to do, right? So because of that, I kind of used the Guild War effect resistance artifact. What is it called? It is the one that is... Where is it? I apparently passed by it. It is. Where is it? I'm like, am I blind? Oh, Bastion of Hope, that's what it is. She used to be on this artifact just to give her some more effect resistance. So for those, effectiveness Zeos, so I don't have to worry about her getting silenced and that she actually does take her turn. But I just stopped drafting her into Zeo and or I just ban Zeo because I do think her having her artifact for the extra bit of CR push is very crucial, especially when you are going up against like a Politis or something like that. We have Rimuru, whose build has changed. He is on a more DPS hybrid tank build weirdness. I don't know. He's kind of all over the place. He used to be on a pure tank build with high effect resistance for anti-cleave. Like he had like 20k HP, something along those lines. Super, super tanky, beefy boy. No crit rate, crit damage, right? Just pure tank stats and effect resistance. And then I put him on this build because I wanted him to have some damage to be able to kill things, but also still have some bulk, a little bit, just a little bit of bulk, a little bit of damage. And then he's on this artifact purely because he doesn't have 100% crit. Then we have Zahhak, who used to be an opener in the beginning of the season. He used to be like 280 something speed, close to 290 speed. And then I lowered his speed, gave him more damage, and, so he actually does guaranteed one-shot any Adin for the most part. He's built fast enough, I think, to be faster than Adin. Most Adins are not going to be faster than 280 speed or 270 for the most part. I mean, my Adin is like 240, so that's kind of like what I base it off of. Like, my Adin's 240, so I assume their fastest Adin would be 240, and most people's Adins aren't that. So yeah, that's what he's built for, to deal with Adin. But other than that, he doesn't really get drafted that much. Then we have Senya, who is on an effectiveness build. I know it's better to put her on an effect resistance build, but I just don't have that much effect resistance gear to go around, so she is on an effectiveness build. She is also typically a last pick unit, right, when I know that she actually will get, not stripped or anything of that nature, where she's actually very optimal to be used. But typically, if I do draft Senya, she gets banned, because she's also kind of like that fill-in for like a must-ban unit. So yeah. Don't really draft Senya often, but when I do, she's typically a must-ban unit. Violet. I actually did have some fun games with Violet this season because he's kind of like my budget Adin, right? When I just need that like RNG factor and hoping to solo win by, invasion, I just slam in Violet because, yeah, that's what he does. He was the OG, evasion monster, and now he's kind of like not that really anymore. But yeah, he still has gear. I had a couple of fun games with him where he did actually solo, and it was pretty funny. And yeah, it's just I don't know. Violet, hated this unit. Kind of like I don't know. Still have mixed feelings about this unit, but he's still fun to use when you do get to use him. Landy actually had a build change. She was on a counter Bloodstone build, and then I moved her back to a more speedier Guiding Light build because of the shifts in the meta, right? Last Rider Crow is a very popular unit now, so to combat that, I have my Landy build to deal with that, and all of that good stuff. Then we have Destina, who is a newcomer. I didn't really use her until the very last day of the season, so I didn't really get to fully experience Destina. For the most part, this is what her stats are. This is where her build is. It kind of has a lot of hand-me-down gear for the most part, because I don't really, wish she was a little bit more tankier, but I think this is fine for now. I don't really draft super slow standard draft, but I do like having her as an option, because there's so many times where I think to myself, oh, I wish I had another cleanser, and I didn't ever had Destina build, but then I finally decided to build her, so I have that extra cleanser for backup if I really do need that. So yeah. Roana, I mean, she's just on whatever gear. Yeah. Roana just does her job when she does her job. All that good stuff. Conqueror Lillias. The unit that I don't draft because I can't. Because I can't. She is a she is a staple on my account where anytime that I do draft her, I will lose. That's just how it is. I have not I have not proven myself wrong about that. Maybe I just need a guide on how to draft Conqueror Lillias. What should I be banning? Who do I need to pair her with? Because I swear every single time I end up losing because I just don't know how to draft her properly. And yeah, it sucks. It sucks. Because I really do like the unit, but you know, it is what it is. This is her gear. Um, I got this piece. It had 22 speed, which is why she's on it. This like off-piece kind of build setup. She used to have a lot higher effectiveness. I could give her, technically, I could give her Champion's Trophy with a little extra boost of effectiveness. It wouldn't be much, right? You know, but if I do eventually get an effectiveness ring at some point that is on hit set, then I could like change that out and then give her Champion's Trophy so she has like enough effectiveness to actually debuff people and all that good stuff. But again, speed gear is hard to come by, and this is the best that I can do. General Purrgis is... I used to draft this unit way back. I don't think I did it this season, but it was like you would draft essentially Adin and G-Purge and then like 3 other stealth units, and they have to hit G-Purge or Adin. And that's kind of like how the draft was set up. Other than that, I have not used him since. And this is not ideal gear for that, by the way. You would probably want him on like a sub DPS build. But yeah, this is literally... He's just there. He's there to exist. I don't really use him. Lionheart Cermia, another fun unit. I kind of didn't really draft her that much towards the end of the season, but these are her stats. Nothing really changed about her gear. Again, not a Banshee gamer, so this is the best that I could do with what I had. Ambitious Tywin, a very fun unit. I really liked his buffs, even though I don't really use him that optimally, I don't think. I don't know. He's on like a sub DPS build or whatever. I might change him to an effectiveness build that's just super tanky. But for now, his gear, I mean, nobody else can use this gear. So I kind of just have him on it because why not? And he is on Bastion of Perlucia because of the fact that he's a really good pick. So if I draft him with Spectene into like a Lua, because I typically do that, it then makes it so that my Spectene doesn't get turn reset, or any DPS that I have, right? Any high attacking DPS that I have doesn't get turn reset by the Lua because the Lua can't reach them because they have the immunity and the barrier. Belian, or Belian, however you want to say it, is a unit that I don't use. Cause I ban her. I actually don't think there's ever been a game where I don't ban Belian, so I just don't use the unit, but she does have gear, just in case if she does get through the draft. Unbound Knight Arowell. She's a lot of fun. When I do use her, typically she gets taken away from me and I have to counter her, but she's a decent unit for the most part. She's on this set so that she gets the extra CR push when an ally is getting attacked, so she's super fast. I wish I could get her to be triple S imprinted, but I just have not summoned any Arowells, so yeah. I wish her ER was a lot higher too, but it is what it is. Adin, probably one of my more favorite units of the season. I love RNG units when they work, I should say. I love RNG units when they work. So when Adin is invading, she is a lot of fun. When she's not invading, I'm mad. So it's just how it is, right? I have her on a pretty speedy build with some decent damage. She is super squishy, so there is no chances of her surviving if she does get hit, which is, you know, the pain of her being the super RNG type of setup. But yeah, it is what it is. She has been a lot of fun to use, though. Astromancer Elena is missing a ring. and I don't know where that ring is. Regardless, I don't really use this unit that much. I did use her for some fun RTA videos during this season, but for the most part, I don't think she is worth building unless you're like a dedicated cleaver. If you're a dedicated cleaver, I would say this is definitely a good unit to have built, but if not, um, it doesn't really matter. I think just to show what her stats would be if she did have a ring, um, let's see. Let's see. Was it this? I think it was this. I literally think this is her ring. I I think this was her ring. Like literally, this was her ring. Yeah, this was. These were her stats. Oopsie. I don't know who that ring went to earlier, but yeah, these were her stats for the most part. Commander Pavel, a lot of fun when I do get to use him. He typically gets banned if I do draft him, but when he does get through and he does do his job. I wish he was on a destruction set, but again, not a Banshee gamer. I always have to reiterate that. I typically only have speed gear or speed set gear, right? So that's why he's on this set for the most part. Faithless Lidica, somebody that I built towards the end of the season because I really, really wanted to use her. But she wasn't that successful, I would say. I lost probably majority of the games that I tried using her, but I don't really have the units that I would want to pair with her. I wish I had Last Rider Crow, because I would love to synergize those two together with like Spectine, something along those lines, with like an Arowell, like having like 2 stealth units and Lost Rider Crow, and then like Arowell. Like I really want to do something along those lines, but I'm missing the Last Rider Crow. I'm missing that one piece of the puzzle for those types of builds and setups, but this is her gear for now. It might go to somebody else in the near future, who knows, but yeah. Angel of Light and Angelica. Yeah, this is her gear. I typically don't really draft this unit, but when I do, she is on a higher effectiveness build because I want her to be able to silence a Destina after Destina loses her effect resistance buff. And if I'm using a Death Dealer Ray team, I typically do draft Angel of Light with him because he does grant the effectiveness buff, which kind of like guarantees that AOL can essentially silence most Destinas or most high ER units with that 250 effectiveness, right? And that's kind of what she is built for. Sage, Ball, and Sazan. I don't really use this unit as much anymore. Most people play standard or play super tanky or slow, or if they are going to play fast, it's more like aggro, it's not necessarily cleave. So he doesn't really get used that much, but he does have gear for the chances that I do have to use him, and that kind of thing. And because Zeo is a thing, and effective Zeos are a thing, I typically have to deal with the fact that Zeo can be drafted, and I have to deal with, a super high effective Zeo still silencing him and pushing him back, right? Solitaria, nothing has changed with her gear in like 4 seasons. She's been on the same gear for forever. And I just don't think there will ever be a time that it will change anytime soon. I would like to get a better ring. I think I've said this every time I talked about my Solitaria. I would like her to have a better ring, but I just have not gotten that ring yet because my speed gear just is hard to come by. So yeah. Desert Jewel Bazaar. This is what his build is. I wish he was faster, but I also wanted to make sure he had 200 effect resistance. Like that was like a mandatory requirement. And then I had to, even out the stats elsewhere. And yeah, he has okay speed, but with more imprints, I would say that I could then lower his effect resistance in the gear and then give him more speed. Or I could just get better speed, effect resistance gear overall. Maid Chloe. Somebody that I don't use that often because I don't have units to synergize with her really, but she is geared for a like if I had like Arya or like a team that requires a lot of effect resistance, like all the units require effect resistance, she is geared for that because she's on, this artifact, plus she has her passive, right? And all this other kind of stuff, right? She is geared for that. but I just don't have essentially all of the things needed for that. But she is built. I rarely use her, but she is geared if I do ever decide to use her. Apocalypse Ravi, she is a anchor for me for the most part. She is on a counter pin build. She has very low speed, but she is super, super bulky. I wish her defense was a lot higher, but I'm going to say it again. How many times have I said I'm not a Banshee gamer? Tell me down in the comments below. But you already know. I'm not even going to say it, but you already know. Yeah, this is why her gear is the way it is. It's what I could do best. Designer Lilibet, don't really use her. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about this unit, but these are her stats. Inferno Khawazu, a very fun unit. If I do ever get to use him, he's a lot of fun. But for the most part, I don't really get to use him. There's not really many situations where I can actually draft him, but these are his stats. Mediator Kawerik, the skin winner for this season. I really, really love this skin. I think it really gives that edgy vibe that's really cute. I also have piercing similar to Mediator Kawerik, which is why I also really like this skin design. I think it's really cute and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, this is his stats. 240 speed. I don't know why he needed to be 240. He has some effectiveness to kind of like guarantee that attack down into units that aren't built with ER. But yeah, these are what his stats look like. Strays, a unit that I love to use when I can use him. I actually put him on Benimaru's artifact. I do plan on limit breaking it in the near future to try to get that to 100% because there are so many times where I just can't give my strays the attack buff that I want to. And now with this artifact that he can just grant it to himself, it actually makes it so easy to draft this unit. It actually makes them a lot easier to draft and to tank your teams where you don't necessarily have to be reliant on an attack buff. I do think that with this artifact, strays might see a lot more play because you don't have to worry about giving him that attack buff anymore that he so desperately needs. And yeah, so it's just a lot. It's a really good artifact, a really, really good artifact. Fallen Cecilia. I don't think I drafted all this season, but these are her gear. These are her stats. Shadow Knight, Pilus, another unit that I don't draft in RTA. I use her for Guild Wars mainly, but she is up here just in case, you know? If I desperately need a knight that is, I don't know. She doesn't really do her job as well as you would like her to. So, yeah, I'm not going to speak too much on this unit. RB, RB. The days when RB was OP. I miss him so much. Like, he used to be such a premium unit, and I did hate him, by the way. But then they released like 1,000 things to counter him. But with the new unit release of Abigail, we might see RB more because he doesn't get extinct because Abigail will have her passive or whatnot and all that kind of good stuff. So he actually gets like an extra turn at least. But I did draft him once this season, and he did do his job, right? It didn't have extinction. They tried to cleave me, and then RB revived, gabbed, and one-shot the entire team. So it is what it is. And also, a lot of cleave teams now are built with skill nullifier, which also is another thing that counters RB, right? The skill nulls, the extinctions, Blair Witch Iceria, which we'll get into a little bit later, right? It's so hard to use this unit, but he is still built. I haven't changed his gear at all. This is just what he is. Closer Charles. I really like this unit a lot. I love how they buffed him so that he cannot be countered on his S3. And yeah, he's a lot of fun. I probably should muller this up at some point, but I'll do that at a later point. And he used to be 270 speed, but I lowered his speed to give his gear to somebody else. I think that somebody else was actually Faithless Lidica, who got some of his gear. But yeah, these are what his stats are. I didn't know what artifact to put him on. I really don't. Maybe this. Wait, no. Is this Rand? Is this the artifact that's getting buffed? I think this artifact is getting buffed. And I might do that just to like remove souls, maybe. That might be an interesting... Oh, it's a non-attack skill. I'm so dumb. Ignore everything that I just said. Wait, but isn't it getting buffed to just be using a skill and not a non-attack skill? I don't know. I didn't really pay too much attention to the artifacts that were getting buffed in the balance patch, because, yeah. Anyway, we're gonna ignore it. Yeah, I don't know what to put him on. Probably an evasion artifact, but I just don't have many evasion artifacts to put him on. Maybe even a hit chance one. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. But he's on this artifact because why not? I just have it. It is what it is. I don't really think his artifact matters too much because if I'm using him, I typically don't want the match to last that long. So yeah. Then we have Remnant Violet, who I don't really use anymore. Hence why he's on Moonlight Dreamblade, because you should put him on something along the lines of like maybe even Double-Edged Crescent, or whichever the Hollow is his best slot artifact, but I only have one, and that's on Adin, because Adin just gets used way more than my Violet will ever get used. So yeah, those are his stats. Blair Witch Iseria. Yeah, these are his stats. Very fun unit. Love to use this unit. She has been a solo DPS for me for multiple occasions. She used to have the plus 30 Guiding Light, but now she has the plus 15 one. I don't really know which stealth unit I need to have the plus 31 at the moment, but who knows? Who knows? I don't even know what I was saying there, but anyway. Operator Sigrid. She's like a must-ban unit. That's where I draft her. She's used for Guild Wars. I would not draft this in RTA hoping that she gets through the draft because she has 187 speed. You know what I mean? She has like random gear pieces that just so that she's built. Because I've been seeing a lot of defenses that she's on attack percent boots. You know what I mean? Like she's not geared for her. She isn't geared for what is it? For RTA. She's geared to be used if I need to use her, which is hopefully never. Hopefully she never gets to the draft. If I'm drafting her, I want them to ban her, right? Spectre Tenebria, one of my favorite units in the game. She's on a Unity set. If you've seen some of my RTA videos, you know that the Unity set does, in fact, pop off a lot of the times. And I have won matches with her consecutively dual attacking, and that's been a blast when she does do it. I might change her build off of Lifesteal and put her on a speed set build. But I still want to keep her on Unity. Like I really love the RNG factor of Unity. And so I'm just going to keep her on that gear. I'm going to keep her on these Unity pieces, but I will probably change out of Lifesteal and put her on a speed build or something along those lines. I think that might be the next thing, because the times that I have lost using Spectre Tenebria is because she's too slow. So not because she doesn't have enough sustain or the lifesteal, it's because she's too slow. So I might change that in the near future. Then last but not least, we have Depth Dealer Ray. I don't really draft him too often, but I did change him to an effect resistance build to have some effect resistance instead of effectiveness. I used to have him on like a, it was like 150 effectiveness, maybe even closer to 200. I think it was 150. But the thing about it is, if he got stunned, he was like a sitting duck, right? He just had no purpose, he had no use when he was stunned, and he would be stunned by a unit like Spectre Tenebria or something along those lines, right? A unit that isn't built with that much effectiveness at all. So to alleviate that, he has a little bit of effect resistance to better deal with those debuffs that aren't necessarily coming from high effectiveness debuffers, right? So that's what his gear is. He is still a little bit fast. He used to be like 260 speed, but I feel like that was overkill. There's really no point of having a Depth Dealer Ray that is like an opener type speed. There was no point of doing that. So yeah, lowered his speed, gave him some effect resistance, and yeah, that concludes all of my PvP units or my PvE units that are also built to bait bans and stuff like that. All my other units are more so for PvE or just are missing gear pieces. If you do want me to do a video over my PvE builds, I can. I just feel as though most people kind of don't really need that, so I only do my PvP units or my units that I have for builds that are for baiting bans out of people and whatnot. Anyway, that concludes this video. If you did enjoy, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you all in my next videos. I do have some units. I can't wait for my next summoning session because we'll be summoning for a lot of different units that I will be building for the next RTA season. I already have their gear ready and prepped, ready to go. I'm excited for Abigail. I can't wait to build her. I'm excited for my next new ML unit that I will be summoning for, but we'll get into that in the near future, and that I'm excited to be building because I have their gear ready, as well as a few more other units that I've been sitting on waiting to have built. So yeah. Anyway, like I said earlier, if you did enjoy, like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace out.